appreciate you all staying a little later than normal on this 2-day draft process. First, I want to say successful draft night for the Wizards. We added 2 players, but more importantly, 2 people who we feel fit us and where we were going. Secondly, we were blessed to have a tremendous draft room tonight in this facility. So thank you, Cisco, Jim Van Stone, our partnership group, for making sure we had our ability to do the draft with Cap One, where we normally do it going under renovations. We found a beautiful home to do the draft, and it made our job a lot easier tonight, and we look forward to it moving forward. So as you guys know, each night in the draft is different. Every draft is different. Tonight we walked in with 6 and 8. We were able to kind of move a little bit, but acquired 2 players in Tre and Will, who we feel are really skilled wings, skilled basketball players who know how to move the scoreboard and will continue to get better at doing that. But players who have a real passion for the game. These dudes are hoopers, they're workers, they are serious craftsmen, they care about getting better, and they wanted to be here. And that's important to us, adding those type of players. So I think we're happy with night 1. Picked up a pick to get back in the draft tomorrow night in round 2. So all the scouts and strategy, everybody's still downstairs trying to figure out what we do tomorrow. But I wanted to make sure I came up here, spoke with you guys first, and can answer any questions that you guys have.
Raise your hand and we'll bring the microphone over to you. Go ahead, Chase.
I will. Just how good of a shooting prospect is Tre Johnson?
Really good. Obviously one of his bigger strengths. Tre, when you look at how well he shot the ball off the dribble and as well as off the catch, 41% catch and shoot, 39. That's impressive at his size. I think pound for pound, if he's not the best shooter, one of the best shooters in the draft, but that's not his only skill. And he's someone that can make plays for others. Averaged 19 points a game in the SEC, led the whole conference in scoring as a freshman, like in conference play. That's hard to do. And he did it with pretty high level efficiency shooting the ball. So we're excited to add that to a team like ours.
And he said that it was very memorable that you showed him highlights of plays that he took off, and it motivated him, and he's still thinking about it, he's continued to think about it. So can you kind of tell us your side of that story?
I got to get in front of him and tell him stop sharing house secrets, first off. I don't know if it was highlights, lowlights, or what it is, but when we bring guys in, we make sure that we get a feel for who they are. They get a feel for who we are and spend a lot of time here. And we're not going to sugarcoat everything. Michael and I, it's important to be transparent. There's a lot to like with Tre. But there are some areas he's got to grow in just like every other 19-year-old player. And we'd rather address it on the front end, see if he can improve upon it, see what his answers are. And it was just fun banter conversations. I'd say he had a film session with BK and the coaching staff. It was probably a little nicer than mine. But in both of those, he showed his IQ. And that's what really stood out. His ability to remember plays, his ability to say, what could you have done differently? During the workout, we throw him in positions and offense and the plays that we run and see how quickly he picks up on it. And the guy's a sponge, he has a high IQ, so the film sessions were fun, but he's got to keep that to himself next time.
Hey, Will, back here. Good to see you all the way back here. Obviously, you're focused on building the Wizards today, but the Thunder did just win the championship. You were a big part of building what their team has done, and you're building a young, similar core that it was like at the early stages here. So in terms of building that young core, how good do you guys feel about where it is adding these 2 guys to the young people you're already building with you right now?
Yeah, first off, congratulations to the Thunder. Good to see the city and everybody that I work with get an opportunity to celebrate that. My family back in Oklahoma was definitely proud and happy and at the parades and all that stuff. But I think every rebuild is different. Every timeline for each team is different. And we're running our own race. And that's the most important thing for us and for everybody to understand here in DC. And through the first 3 drafts, it's only been 2 years, a couple weeks since myself and Michael have really been here. We feel confident in the players that we have to just grow at their own time. And adding Tre and Will, they're like-minded players. They have some versatility. They're compete. They're going to get after it. And we're going to give them the same runway that we've given all of the other players that we drafted to work on their craft. And when it's time for them to play, they're going to play and get a lot of minutes here.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Hey, Will.
How we doing?
Good. The Will Riley pick, number 21, originally had 18. Felt comfortable making that trade to move back. Was Will Riley always your guy in that range, and you felt confident that he was still going to be there at 21? Or overall, what was the reasoning behind that deal?
Yeah, there's a lot, as you can imagine, that goes on. We're fortunate to have a deep staff that can have multiple conversations with agents, multiple conversations with other teams, and we're just tracking our guys throughout the draft. Will's someone that, when we first came in, we knew he kind of fit our profile. We spent a lot of time on the grassroots watching and seeing who he is as a player there. He was different than when he was at Illinois. I think towards the end of the season, when they had some injuries, they put the ball in his hands a little bit, and you could see who he was back when he was playing with UPlay and playing in Canada. So we knew the type of player he was. He was someone we were looking for. And again, it's our job to be strategic as possible, get the most value we can for the future, but also try to make sure we get players that we like. And that deal presented itself, and it was probably the best deal at the time that we felt very comfortable with.
With Will, you said he fits your profile. What specifically do you like about his game?
Size, versatility, high processing speed. He's, again, like I said, he's one of those guys who works. He had a massive growth spurt, and you just look at his face and his body, the way he's built, he's still growing. So he's somebody that we feel confident is going to come in the gym and push people and develop at his own time. But he has ball skills, he can make plays, assist to turnover ratio, and he's probably a better defender than people give him credit for. But we're going to test that out right away in summer league and make him guard.
Will, you mentioned already that you're going to give these guys a runway to work on their craft, and they get a lot of minutes here, so that probably answers to why they wanted to be here. But during the pre-draft process, do you sell them on the Wizards, or do they have to sell themselves to the Wizards?
Yeah, I think it goes both ways. It's a partnership. What Michael and I are trying to do with the organization, we're pretty direct with that. And we're probably not for everybody. Like, what we're trying to do is different, and you gotta wanna be here and a part of that. And we bring guys in and they meet with different people within the organization to get a real feel for what it's like. Like, not only what's your job, but how do you help players? If I were to be here, how would you help me? So they know exactly what they're getting into, and it's not the right partnership for everybody, but I think players who are serious about basketball and want to work and bet on themselves and use the resources that we're going to give them are typically good matches for that.
Okay, well, you talked about the two wings that you guys drafted today. With Tre, do you see him as more of a guard or as a wing?
Can you repeat the first part, Mr. Sorry.
When you talked about Tre and Will originally, you called them two wings, so I was just curious, do you see Tre as a more guard, or do you see him as like a big guard, or more on the wing side?
Yeah, these guys are versatile. Like, you see Bub, you see Keyshawn, you see Bilal, like, get the ball, rebound. You see Alex, rebound the ball, bring it up, and then we'll play from there. So we see them playing different positions, 1, 2, 3, maybe even some 4 smaller lineups, but they fit the type of mold we've drafted, where you have multiple decision makers, multiple handlers, and now guys who can spread the floor again.
You talked about being honest with them about where you want the players to improve when they come in. What are the things for Tre and Will that you kind of pinpointed as, hey, here are the growth opportunities for you guys?
Yeah, we were pretty direct on some of that stuff. Mostly used our analytics to kind of back that. I don't want to give the summer league scouting report away on their weaknesses, but both those guys are young. They got to get better on the defensive end and just get more efficient where they can. But a lot of stuff is just really for first-year players, catching up with the speed of the game, working on their bodies, improving their habits, things like that. That'll go a long way. But fortunately, these two guys, they eat the gym. Like, they're in there, they're workers, and it's in their DNA. So I feel pretty good about whatever their weaknesses are, them at least shoring those up.
What were the things you saw with Will in the grassroots evaluation that might have only shown up later in his time in the league?
More on the ball play. More on the ball play. His confidence, when he is on the ball and kind of in that AAU setting, he knew what he could do with the ball and score and get places, but also find guys. When there were some injuries with KJ at Illinois, like watching those games, watching how he competed and really went out guys in the Rutgers game, like that's a high-level game with multiple first-round guys in it. And the way he kind of attacked that game is kind of what we saw in EYBL play.
Josh. Oh, Josh. I'm so sorry.
That's all right. I'll ask him. Dave will ask you. I'll ask him.
Sure. You mentioned that this is your third draft. Obviously, this roster's been flipped.
Yeah.
It's not finished, I know, but you've got a lot of your guys in position now. I don't know if you can talk about other moves that you've made that can't be announced until July 6th, but it would seem to me that you are now in a position where the young guys are going to get the bulk of the minutes going forward. that you're not gonna try to pair them with veterans and have the veterans bring them along. Am I reading that right?
Probably not completely on that one. I think you're right. I can't completely comment on everything we did yesterday. I will say that days like that, those are challenging decisions for any organization, especially one when you're in a rebuilding process. So you have to always remember to keep the main focus on the main focus and put ourselves in position to maximize where we're trying to go. And for us, that's long-term success. That's kind of going to be where we're at. And we wanted to stay on track with that while creating flexibility in what you're saying, playing time for some of these young players. But I thought Brian did a tremendous job last year, having 3 rookies. 3 of them were all 5 top minutes per game. So like, we're going to play those guys even when we had some veterans. And I still think we have some pretty high-level veterans who can play and help and mentor. So it's going to be tricky to kind of mix it all in, but I think it's a good thing to have. But again, we're going to invest in the guys we drafted tonight, give them every opportunity to play and find that balance. But we're trying to keep it strategic, trying to stay flexible. You know the new rules, the new aprons, like that's probably as important as having high-level players. So we're going to take our crack, develop our guys, and stay flexible. But on our timeline, we're not rushing that.
In terms of Bub, again, knowing that you may not be able to talk about that, other people that were at that position, is it fair to say that Bub's gonna get the ball now? I know everybody gets the ball, but somebody has to play the one. Is he gonna be the one?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of room to kind of talk about that, but we feel confident when Bub has the ball, and we want to make sure that we're playing a style where everybody touches it. But he's going to take a step this summer. He's been in the gym with Key, with Alex, with Justin, with AJ. Like, these guys have been back since May 1st. It's pretty impressive the work that they've been putting in, and they're ready for the challenge, and they're ready for more opportunity. And we kind of like saying, hey, go get it, go earn it. Everybody's going to get a chance, and that'll take care of itself. We'd rather have people do it that way than just give things out to them. But I think he'll be ready for something.
Hi, Will.
Hi.
Hello. In talking with Tre and Will, they both use words like family-like, connectedness to describe the environment here during their visits. What does that say about the values you and your staff have been able to instill, and is that something that you want them to walk away with?
Yeah, I think that's who we are at our core. We're a player-centric building, but we're a people-first organization. And I can't tell you the effort that Amber Nichols puts into planning these draft workouts and spending time and dinner and really getting to know these people. Anna Lee, Jalen, like the experienced people that just make sure that guys have a great experience when they come here, because these guys are traveling. They're going workout to workout, they're staying in hotels. You want to make sure that they're comfortable while they're here. But we don't want to just roll the balls out for the workout. Coach Keefe and Cody like specifically building workouts to answer questions that we have about them, so it's more intentional. They get to touch the PPE departments. They get to sit down and talk with analytics to learn about themselves, but also how we look at things. Like, it is a family atmosphere, and when I call them, it's not like, hey, thanks, who am I going to be working with? They're like, hey, I can't wait to see this person again. Can't wait to come in and I know where I fit. Like, we feel better about that. But again, it's about actions, not about words. We care about people, we care about the community. We want it to feel like a family, and we want these guys out in the community. And I think once you get to know these guys, our fans are gonna love them.
Well, we know that Tre is a really good shooter, a particularly accomplished college shooter, but what, if you were to break down his shot, what makes him the shooter he is?
The ball going in a lot. And I expect it to continue. If you watch him go through a workout, the repetition, it's the same shot every time. He can speed it up. He can mid-range, deep, 4-pointers. Like, I'm not gonna oversell his shooting. Like, this guy does that for a living, and he's gonna get paid to do it. It's a repeatable shot every single time.
I'm not asking you to compare Keyshawn's game to Will Riley's game, but do you see similarities in maybe how the rest of the league didn't quite value them in the way that the Wizards valued them and their feel for the game?
I'll say this, it was a deep draft. It was really hard to make some of these decisions when you're going through and looking at the players that are available and the different picks that are being moved around. I think when you go and study this draft, that people drafted for them. They drafted for their fit. And for us, you talk about Keyshawn, who I think is gonna be someone that you see the work he's really putting in and how his year 2 is gonna look. You guys are gonna be excited to see the gains that he's making. hopefully you do that with every player. And with Will, he again is someone that's big, that's tall, that's versatile. Probably wasn't known as much for being a two-way player who we're gonna harp to continue to do that. But he's got some special skills with the ball that he didn't get to unlock. And for us, being on the grassroots circuit, being on that stuff early gives you a head start. And that's why we have our grassroots scouts out there early. I'm telling them, like, make sure I don't skip EYBL. Like, I gotta go see those dudes, because that's important. The game is different when you're drafting these dudes off 1 year, 6 months on campus. So we think there's more there to unlock. That's why we had him as high as we did, and we're happy to have him, happy to have Keyshawn, because those guys will be in the gym all night. I can guarantee that.
Hey, Will. So you mentioned earlier that you liked what you saw when Will got the chance to get more on ball due to some injuries. It was kind of a similar story for Keyshawn at Miami, and Bub too sort of moved on and off the ball at Pitt. How much do you value getting actual tape from these guys in real game situations that they can play both on and off the ball?
It's invaluable. I also want to say we have a very deep scouting department. Like Ted, Michael allow us to have a deep roster and really use resources to travel and see a lot of these guys live, go to their practices, because you don't just want to see them in game situations. And obviously we watch film as well. So Amber kind of leads that group, makes sure that we have full coverage. We have people in the analytic department that flag, like, hey, higher usage this game. Someone's injured, try to go watch that stuff. So it's all connected. We try to make sure that what we're seeing is connected with what we're reading through the numbers, and obviously the intel when you're talking to all the people around them, that you're drafting your type of people. But finding those type of games when other players are injured and they get to do more, that gives you those little glimpses to study. But again, there's different ways to evaluate, but that's just a piece that we look forward to.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.